If you're pouring your heart into your podcast, but still struggling to turn those listeners into paying clients, I've got something just for you. Imagine having a clear, simple plan to turn your listeners into buyers without relying on a huge audience or spending hours on social media. That's exactly what we'll create together in a podcast profit plan discovery call. During this free 20-minute call, I'll help you discover more opportunities for profit in your podcast and give you the next best step to turn your show into a client attracting machine. If I've got an offer that will help you expedite this process, then we can also discuss working together. Book your free podcast profit plan discovery call now by going to podcastingformoms.co/profit plan or by clicking the link in the show notes. I can't wait to chat with you. Okay, I need to say something that might make you feel a little uncomfortable, and I say that with all the love in the world. Your best episodes might actually be the reason that your podcast isn't making you money. I know, that feels a little bit backwards because you worked really hard on those episodes. People are DMing you that it was the most helpful thing that they've ever heard. Your downloads went up. You're feeling really good. But here's the thing. Helpful isn't the same as strategic. And if your podcast is supposed to be a marketing tool for your business, good content alone is not enough. Stay with me because by the end of the episode, you're going to understand exactly what's happening and, more importantly, what to do about it. Let's talk about it. Welcome to Podcasting for Moms, the show for moms in business ready to start, grow, and scale a podcast that turns their listeners into buyers. I'm Jenny Sonnesen, a podcast strategist and fellow mom entrepreneur. You're in the right place if you want to learn how to start and grow a podcast that attracts your ideal clients and really does the heavy lifting for you when it comes to selling your offers, all while balancing life as a busy mom. Are you ready to create a podcast that grows your income, impact, and influence? Let's make podcasting work for you because as moms, we know how to get things done. All right, let's jump into the episode. Hey, and welcome to Podcasting for Moms. I am Jenny Sonnesen, a podcast strategist and producer, and this show is for mom entrepreneurs who are done treating their podcast like a hobby and ready to use it as their actual marketing engine. Let's get into it. All right, so let's start with something that no one talks about when they tell you to just create great content. Great content attracts listeners, but not all listeners are buyers. And here's what I see happen all the time. A podcaster goes all in on their best, most shareable, most bingeable episodes. They cover broad topics, they appeal to the widest possible audience, and it works. Their numbers go up, people share it, they get more subscribers, but then they wonder why no one is buying. And it's because they optimize for reach instead of resonance with the right person. Your podcast does not need a massive audience. It needs the right audience. And there is a huge difference between someone who listens to your show because it's entertaining or informative and someone who listens because you are speaking directly to their exact problem and they're ready to solve it. When your content is too broad, even if it's brilliant, you're building an audience of casual listeners instead of an audience of potential clients. So I want you to think about it this way. If someone stumbles on your episode and they think, wow, great tips, but they don't think, oh my gosh, this is exactly me, then they're a listener, not a lead. And your podcast cannot do its job if it's full of listeners who are never going to buy from you anyway. Okay, second thing, and this one might sting a little, so I'm going to say it gently. You might be giving away so much transformation inside of your episodes that your listeners genuinely don't feel like they need to buy anything from you. And I call this the over-delivery trap. And it is very common in the online business space, especially among women, because we're wired to be generous and helpful and we want to prove our value. But there's a difference between teaching someone what to do and helping them actually do it. Your free content should absolutely give value. It should give them real, tangible insights. But there's a spectrum here. And if your episodes are so complete, so thorough, and so packed with step-by-step instruction that someone can fully implement without ever needing you, then you've accidentally replaced your offer with your podcast. The goal here is not to hold back. It is to teach in a way that opens a door instead of closing one. So what does that look like? It means that your episode should leave your listeners feeling clear on the what and the why, and then your offer is the how and the with what support. So if your episode is covering the what, the why, the how, the troubleshooting, the examples, and the implementation plan, you've written a course, not a podcast episode. And your listener has no reason to hire you or buy from you because you already gave them everything. I want you to give generously, but give strategically. So here's what ties both of those things back together. And honestly, this is the biggest issue I see across the board. Most podcasters don't have a listener journey. They have a library. They have a collection of really good episodes, maybe even great episodes. But there is no intentional path from I just found the show to I need to work with her. Your podcast is not just a content delivery system. It is a sales funnel. Every single episode should be doing a job, whether that's building trust, attracting the right listener, educating towards a problem that your offer solves, or moving someone closer to a decision. When you're just creating good standalone episodes with no strategy connecting them, what happens is your listener might love your show for months, binge episode after episode, and never once feel called to buy from you. Not because they don't like you, but because they were never led anywhere. They just listened. A strategic listener journey means that someone can find your podcast today, and within a handful of episodes, they understand exactly who you are, what problem you solve, who you serve, and what the next step is to work with you. That requires intention, and that requires you to think about your content not as what's a good topic this week, but as where does this episode fit in the journey I'm taking my listener on. And here's the real kicker. When you have that journey in place, your individual episodes don't have to work as hard. Each one is a piece of a bigger picture. That is how your podcast becomes a machine instead of a hamster wheel. So let me put this all together for you because I don't want you to walk away from this feeling bad about the content you created. That is not the point of this episode. The point is this: your content is not the problem. The strategy around your content is what's missing. You can have incredible episodes and a strategic listener journey. You can be generous and leave room for people to want more. And you can attract the right listener and grow your numbers. But you have to be intentional about it. You have to know who you're talking to, what you want them to think and feel and do after every single episode, and where they're going next. Your podcast should be working for your business. And if it's not, if it feels like a lot of effort for not a lot of return, then it's usually not a content quality problem. It is just a pure strategy problem. So here is what I want to offer you. If you're listening to this and you're thinking, okay, Jenny, I think I have this problem, but I don't know where to even start with fixing it. That is exactly what my podcast audit is for. In a podcast audit, I go through your show with fresh eyes and I look at everything: your titles, your episode structure, your calls to action, your listener journey, how you're positioning your offers, all of it. And I come back to you with a clear picture of what's working, what's not, and specifically what to change to turn your podcast into a tool that actually grows your business. It's not like an audit where I'm like, great job, but here's some tweaks. It is a strategic deep dive that tells you the truth so you can stop spinning your wheels and start seeing results from your podcast. So if you want to book your podcast audit, you can head to podcastingformoms.co/audit. Once again, that is podcastingformoms.co/audit. I'll make sure to drop the link in the show notes as well. All right, that is it for today's episode. If this episode hit home for you, will you do me a favor and share it with another mom podcaster in your world? We're all trying to figure this out together, and the more we can have these honest conversations, the better. I'll see you here next week. And that's it for this episode. I'll see you here next week. Thank you for tuning into Podcasting for Moms. I hope today's episode gave you the tools and inspiration you need to make your podcast work smarter, not harder. If you love what you heard, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. It means the world and helps other moms in business find the show. For more tips, resources, and support, head to podcastingformoms.co. Remember, you're not just building a podcast, you're building your legacy. Until next time, friends.